right, let's talk more about that cellular inflammation, because that's what it really comes down to. This is why we're here, folks. We need to understand what causes it and what cures it. So let's talk about our cells. Here's a little old cell. Now, research shows us that our average body is made up of 100 trillion cells. Who counted that? Right? 100 trillion cells. Now, if we take that cell and we cut it open, we see this cross-section. And we're going to go back to biology class in high school here, but you might remember inside the cell, we have a center part called the nucleus. And in the nucleus, we have our genetic material, our DNA and RNA. And then we also have tiny little organs in that cell. Just like we have organs in our body, each cell has tiny little organs called organelles. And the one we're going to talk most about tonight is this little red guy here called mitochondria. Mitochondria, you might remember, are the energy powerhouse of the cell. They actually take a molecule of glucose from our food and convert it through something called the Krebs cycle or the citric acid cycle into units of energy called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is your TNT. It's a spark of life in your body. If these little guys don't convert your sugar into ATP, you get sick and die. Think these guys are important? Like to learn how to make them healthy? All right, let's do that. So we're also going to notice that our cell is made up of an outer covering called a membrane, an outer cellular membrane, much like the skin on the outside of your body. And just like our skin, we have little pores that let certain things in. When you rub that nice cream on you to get some nice soft skin going, and also lets waste out through sweat, right? Well, if we break down that membrane and look at it really close, this is what we're looking at. And we notice it's actually two layers. We have these little blue spheres connected to these little rods. The blue spheres are fat. We have two kinds of fat that make that up, and the rods are phosphorus. So this is called a phospholipid bilayer. And this is what makes up every single cell in our body. Now notice that things have to get in and out of that, and they go through these little channels, okay? So we let good guys in, and we let bad stuff out. But there's little keys here, little keyholes, I should say, that good guys have to be able to fit to get in. So not just anything can get into the cell if it's working well, and waste has to get out. And once it gets in, it goes to different parts of the cell to make things work right. Okay, is that clear? All right. Now, if every single cell in your body is made up of two fats, you think it'd be important to eat those fats? Right? They make up every single cell in your body. If you don't have enough of them, you cannot have healthy cells. And let me explain something. Since we're made up of all these cells, if your cells are not well, you cannot be well. Right? Cells come together to make tissues. Tissues come together to make glands and organs. Glands and organs come together to make systems. Systems come together to make a human being. So when we start to have symptoms of disease and dysfunction occurring in our bodies at the system level, at the organ level, at the tissue level, where's it really coming from?
Cellular.
The cell, right? It's a cellular level. So we have to improve the health of the cellular level in order to get well, which is why I'm known as a cellular healing specialist. That sounds cool, doesn't it? Right? But that's what I now devote my life to. So, we all agree, very important to eat these two fats. Yet you've been told by conventional medicine to never ever eat these fats. They're called cholesterol and saturated fat. Makes up every cell in your body. Your brain is 80% cholesterol by weight. Every single nerve fiber in your body carrying the spark of life is coated in cholesterol like the plastic on a wire. Okay? Cholesterol makes every single one of your 600 hormones in your body. Without enough cholesterol, you can't make hormones. And I can't tell you how many women come back into my practice smiling, saying, "Thank you so much for helping my husband's cholesterol problem." Okay? Without cholesterol, you can't make hormones. And so we have a big problem going on in this country. We have a big misunderstanding of the role of cholesterol. All we know is that number's too high, let's bring it down. Who's asking why it's high and doing anything about that? Well, they tell you, well, just don't eat cholesterol, right? Cut out cholesterol in your diet. Well, how much of the cholesterol in your body actually comes from your diet? Depending on the research you look at, 10 to 20%. You can cut out all the cholesterol in the world from your diet and still have high cholesterol. Okay? So let's ask a logical question. If my cholesterol is going up, why? Why would my body do that? My body's really smart. Why would it raise cholesterol? Because it's made by my liver. And why would my liver make more? Well, either my hormones are out of balance, so I'm trying to make more gas for my hormones, because they're all made from cholesterol, or my inflammation levels are too high. What does cholesterol have to do with that? Well, when you have inflammation, what happens when something's inflamed? When you have a cut, it's inflamed. Does it get hot? Right? There's a sticky, ooey, gooey stuff come out sometimes, right? When we have inflammation and infections, things get hot and sticky. So let's say that we have inflamed blood vessels that are now hot and sticky. Okay? What do we want to do? We want to calm that down. We want to coat it. What's our body's number one fireman? Cholesterol. It comes in and coats the blood vessel to put out the hot stickiness that's going to damage that blood vessel. Now what happens when that hot stickiness doesn't go away? Because whatever you were doing to cause it continues. We get another layer of cholesterol, and another layer, and another layer, and another layer, until ultimately it blocks off the whole artery, and now we have a heart attack. When that happens, was that the cholesterol's fault? Or was it the inflammation's fault? Right? Inflammation is the culprit. Cholesterol is just a reaction, a healthy reaction. But if it keeps happening because you never got to the cause of the inflammation, we now have a problem. And there can be many causes of that inflammation. The biggest causes in our diet are sugar and trans fats. Okay? Trans fats are anything that's hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated. Now don't be fooled by the label. It says 0 grams trans fats. Because you know the food industry is allowed to lie. They asked the FDA, so if we just have a little in there, can we say 0? And they said, sure, you can have up to half a gram per serving. Now when you eat that bag of potato chips, are you eating one serving? All right, how many servings are in that bag? 4, 6, right? And you're sitting down, you're watching a movie, you're eating the whole thing.
Just one.
Right? Can't have just one. Because they also put ingredients in there that make your brain desire more. And whenever you hear of MSG, monosodium glutamate, we hear sodium so we think it's salt. It's not salt. It's a flavor enhancer. That's what they call it. What it really is a neurochemical that increases your desire to eat more of that food. Okay? So they put it in the food because then you want more. You ever eat Chinese food and you're hungry an hour later? Okay? So, along the same lines, we want cholesterol. We want healthy fats. We don't want trans fats. We don't want sugar, which raises that inflammation. Okay? And we're going to talk a little bit more about the best sources to get those from as we go along. Everybody with me? All right. So let's talk about cellular inflammation causing disease. We talked before about how it's related to all those different diseases, right? That sounds incredible. Now, there can be lots of different things that cause an inflammation. And then inflammation can become multiple different diseases based on multiple factors that relate to you as an individual, right? What kind of things are you eating? What kind of stresses are you exposed to? What kind of toxins are you exposed to? What kind of exercise are you doing? What kind of genetics do you have? All these things will determine which of those diseases you develop from that inflammation. So it's different for different people. But what research has shown us is that if you were lucky enough to live long enough while having those problems, you would eventually develop all of them. Now, no one lives that long. One thing or the other kills them before that happens. But if you could live long enough, you would develop all those problems because they all come from the same source once it starts. Now, a lot of people say to me, wow, so this was in Discover's Science section, talking about how inflammation is related to things like cancer, autism, how eating the right kind of fat makes you live longer. We also talk about Time magazine, talking about the secret killer, the link between inflammation and heart attacks, cancer, Alzheimer's, and other disorders, including hypothyroidism. Now, how many people have heard this and the doctors already talked to them all about this? One person in a room. One person in a room of what we have? About 40 people here. Well, maybe the information is too new, right? You know, medicine's really slow to change anything. Some doctors I talk to are still looking over the edge to make sure they don't fall off the edge of the earth. Okay? Some people, unfortunately, take a long, long time to catch up. And in the medical field, it typically takes about 20 years for a new idea to catch on, because no one likes to change the status quo. Well, we're about due, because if you look at the data on this is actually 15 years old. Okay? So this is not new information. This is not new information. This has been out there for a long time, yet you still haven't heard about it, right? Well, we're going to teach you about it tonight.